Hello everyone! In today's video I'll be continuing with my book suggestions based off of this season's Great British Bake Off. I always associate this time of year with indulging in sweet treats and baking, especially cookies, which was the theme on the second episode of this season. So I hope with postponing these videos there's a better chance that you've already caught up on this season. If not, I'll leave a link to where you can catch those episodes. So for the signature challenge, bakers had to make slice and bake biscuits, which is a type of shortbread cookie that when you slice into them reveal a hidden image or picture. When thinking of a children's book reflective of this delicious buttery cookie, I wanted one that contained really colorful images and ones that really popped and looked 3D. There's a sweet picture book by Joyce Sidman called Before Morning. This one is illustrated by Beth Cromas. She used a scratchboard drawing technique that makes for really striking images that are so rich. I mean, these are butter cookies after all, and make for the perfect accompaniment to Sidman's short and sweet invocation about a child's wish for a snow day. This bake also made me think of a story hidden within a story, and the one I highly recommend for this is Everything Sad is Untrue by Daniel Nayeri. This memoir is such a rich, poignant and powerful work of literature. You meet Daniel as a 12-year-old boy recounting to his classmates who are who doubt Daniel, and Daniel, weaves multiple stories within his central narrative. This includes his family's own perilous journey to the States as Iranian refugees, and making a home in Oklahoma. And you learn about his heritage through multi-generational stories about his loved ones who are quite legendary in their own right. And there are some really hilarious anecdotes and characters, and he links stories of resilience and faith with Persian folklore, and he does it through the most powerful kind of language we can use, and that's of humor. And Daniel used to be a pastry chef, so you can imagine his food descriptions being very evocative, and he even mentions a type of Persian shortbread cookie in here. For the technical challenge, bakers had to bake 12 of Prue's caramel hobnobs. These are a traditional, really popular English oat cookie that are crunchy and crumbly in texture and are always accompanied by a hot cup of tea. So when thinking of a children's book for this cookie, I immediately thought of Paddington Bear by Michael Bond. These are a sweet series of books about a stowaway bear who travels all the way to London from Peru, and he meets the loving Brown family who adopt him. And also reflective of this traditional cookie is the Victorian fairy tale book, which I believe was edited by Michael Patrick Hearn. And this contains illustrations from the original editions of these stories. This is a delightful anthology of writers and poets such as Christina Rossetti, John Ruskin, E. Nesbit, and some of these stories may be unfamiliar to you, much like the cookie. And I loved how they weren't stereotypical, fantastical stories. Some stories weren't conventional. They broke the conventions of the era. For the showstopper, bakers had to bake biscuit time capsule that was all edible and filled with 5 different types of biscuits presenting personal stories. Since this challenge was so personal, I just selected 5 different books that I treasure. One is A Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh. I was very rarely gifted books growing up, and this was one that was gifted to me by my mentor, Mary Jane, when I graduated from high school. And this is one of the most beautiful books that I treasure because it always reminds me of Mary Jane and how much she meant to me. And then I have a couple books from the Philippines, which is where I was born. I have one by Nunochka Rosca, who is a favorite author of mine, Sugar and Salt, and one of my Tagalog grammar books. Whenever I go visit family in the Philippines, I try to come back with a book, and this just reminds me of my loved ones there. Then I have my sea otter book from the Oregon Coast Aquarium. It just symbolizes where I grew up, and some of my favorite animals are sea otters. So yeah, and I still have one of my pamphlets from when I visited, and just look at this sweet face. I love them. And then my mother-in-law, she writes little booklet, and this is one called Egg Time. This is back from the 70s. It's just filled with her lovely illustrations with little stories and poems that she's written. And this is one from the 70s that I was sent to safeguard and keep. And it's just symbolic because I too love birds. We have hens and we got duckies earlier in the spring. They're runner ducks, and they just started laying eggs back in November. So yeah, I had to have Egg Time in here as one of my mementos. For this episode, the Star Baker was awarded to Tom, who had incredible bakes, and I think he received such praise that it earned him the first Paul Hollywood handshake of the season. And he made a gorgeous edible replica of his grandmother's cottage. And in honor of his sweet bakes, I will suggest Rose Cottage by Mary Stewart. I enjoy books where houses act like their own unique character. And this story is about a young woman, Kate, who was raised by her grandmother. And after her grandmother passed away, she needs to return to her childhood village to obtain some family documents that go missing. And what unravels is a really interesting and intriguing family mystery, which is my kind of mystery, where there's no murders, no criminals. It's just stories that, it's just a story about our connections to the past and how they influence the present. And along the way, Kate is reunited with some childhood friends and neighbors who are eager to help her, and it's a really engrossing read. And the talented baker that we had to say goodbye to was the proud Welshman, Leighton. He made a piano-shaped memento box that contained 5 shortbread cookies. One was in the shape of a Blue Peter badge, which was his favorite TV show growing up. I felt his bakes really celebrated nostalgia, and so much of what makes us who we are the places and people that connect us to certain points in life. That just reminded me of the work of Dylan Thomas, and so the book that I suggest for in honor of Leighton is A Child's Christmas in Wales. I think this beloved classic has even been turned into a musical, which fits with the musical component of his bakes. And it's such a beloved piece of literature that, you know, resonates with themes of childhood joy and childhood nostalgia, and that's why I chose A Child's Christmas in Wales. So that wraps up my book suggestions for Cookie Week. Love to hear about any of your book suggestions for any of the bakes from this second episode, and I'll see you real soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Good night.